Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. And today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. So if you do consider drop your likes, and if you do consider subscribe to the channel as always. So on this video today I'm just going to give you a bit more additional information in regards to David De Gea, and of course there is lots of other things to talk about. And on this channel tomorrow, or it will be on Friday, the Manchester United and Leicester preview will be coming up, and obviously the build up and that to the game. So according to Adam Crafton, who's an athletic journalist, I think it's been reported is it 101 goals if I'm right. He reportedly says that David De Gea is closer to signing a new contract with Manchester United. Obviously we do know it was stemming from the Guardian a couple of days ago. They basically said that David De Gea was closer to signing a new contract with Manchester United. I do believe it's a deal worth up to around 290 grand a week, so that means he will be basically on the same wage as Paul Pogba, because we do know that Paul Pogba is on around 290 grand a week with Manchester United. But there has been a change of scenery in regards to David De Gea, because obviously it recently said not too long ago that David De Gea was on the verge of rejecting a contract offer from Manchester United, and it reportedly said we was at risk of losing David De Gea on the free transfer. But if David De Gea of course commits to a new long-term contract with Manchester United, the speculation regarding his future will obviously come to an end. But according now to Adam Crafton, don't really know much of him. He's basically said that David De Gea is closer to signing a new contract with Manchester United. So on his current deal at the moment, David De Gea is on around 200 grand a week, so he is still on a substantial amount, but he will get around a £90,000 pay rise, because we do know that David De Gea's current contract expires at the end of the season. But we do know earlier on in the summer, David De Gea was subjected to a lot of transfer speculation. Obviously, we do know that Real Madrid have been long admirers of David De Gea. Don't forget, reflecting back in 2015, which was almost 5 years ago now, Real Madrid were on the brink of getting David De Gea, but due to fax machine, the deal never materialised. But Real Madrid have been in for him for a number of years, and I did say at the time, he could have been open to making a return back to Spain, because don't forget, David De Gea grew up in Spain and that, and obviously he began his career in Spain. We do know PSG were regarded as the favourites to get David De Gea earlier on in the summer. I think also Juventus had inquired about getting him. I think quite recently Juventus have inquired about getting David De Gea on a free transfer. But I did say David De Gea at full value is worth £100 million, because David De Gea is regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. But obviously he's obviously been at Manchester United 8 seasons, David De Gea, so he has been a long servant at the football club. Obviously now he's into his 9th season at Manchester United, and like I did say, I do believe David De Gea has had 7.5 good years at the football club. I know his performances have been below par so far this season. He was making costly mistakes towards the back end of last season, but I did say that was mainly to do with a contractual situation. But obviously we've been in negotiations of getting David De Gea a new contract now, at least for the last 18 or 19 months, and obviously we have not yet succeeded in contract negotiations, like I did say, for large periods. Obviously David De Gea was demanding around 350 grand a week. Obviously that figure would make him the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, and obviously for large periods the club were not willing to meet his £350,000 a week wage demands. I do believe we offered him around 300 grand a week at the turn of the year, but at that point we was around £50,000 we was £50,000 below his wage demands and that, so obviously he turned that down. And then it said earlier on in the summer that we was willing to meet his £350,000 a week wage demands, and it actually said throughout pre-season that David De Gea was very, very close to signing new contracts. He did initially say throughout pre-season he was going to sign a 6-year contract worth up to around 375 grand a week, and also would take him under contract with the football club until 2025. And he did actually say after we returned from pre-season his contract would have been announced, but obviously that didn't materialise. But anyway, now reportedly he's close to signing a new contract. It hasn't mentioned the length of the contract or not, but he said he's closer to signing a new long-term contract with the football club. But in this aspect I'm very, very delighted, because David De Gea is very imperative at Manchester United. Obviously he's made over 300 other appearances for the club in our competitions. He's won everything here domestically, and he's won the club's Player of the Year 4 times out of the 6 seasons, reflecting basically, on his impressive performances. And David De Gea is, 28 years of age, and he's still got a lot of development in him. He has still got a lot of development minimum as De Gea, but he has been here since the Alex Ferguson era. I did initially say, if we couldn't come to an agreement, to get David De Gea a new contract, I did say it would be, beneficial for if we could cash in for David De Gea in January, rather than letting go on a free transfer at the end of the season and that. And I did initially say, despite the fact that, that he's been below par recently, and obviously he's got under a year left in his contract, I still believe maybe we could cash in around £30 million for David De Gea in January. But I did initially say, if we're not competing for the top four by January, then I said, David De Gea will want out of the football club anywhere. But looking likely now, according to Adam Crafton and other recent reports, David De Gea is committing his long-term future with Manchester United, which is very, very good. But I did say, if David De Gea, is to leave the football club, I did say it's very imperative that Manchester United, do get an adequate replacement for him. And I think, we've got a couple of goalkeepers in our agenda, who could possibly replace him at the football club. If there is to be a change of scenery and he decides to leave the football club, I think Jordan Pickford has also been on our agenda, from Everton. Obviously, he's the goalkeeper of Everton. I think there was talks earlier on in the summer that, went in for Jordan Pickford. I think he's had a good couple of seasons with Everton. I think Everton paid around £25 million for him from Sunderland, where he initially began his career. I think he's got a long-term contract with Everton. He's under contract with them until 2024. But yeah, he's been on our agenda. Don't forget Jan Blanc. I think it did say we identified him as our #1 priority target to replace David De Gea at the football club. Don't forget, we was in for Jan Blanc early on in the summer. I probably believe, we'd have to probably pay anywhere a substantial amount, for Jan Blanc, because I do believe he's got a buyout clause of around €100 million, which equates to around 88 million in pounds sterling. So this is what, it basically said. We was also in for him, throughout the course of summer. I do believe we instructed scouts, to keep a close eye out on them particular goalkeepers. But anyway, if we definitely need the replacement for him if he does leave. Because look at the other goalkeepers we've got. We've got Sergio Romero. Obviously, Sergio Romero's under contract with the football club until 2021 with an option of further 12 months. Don't forget, but he's not reliable enough, to become our #1 goalkeeper. Obviously, Sergio Romero is our second choice goalkeeper. Lee Grant's out with injury. Lee Grant's only been at the football club, since last summer. Obviously, Dean Ensign's gone back out on loan to Sheffield United. I think it's, good business in that aspect, that he's been loaned back out. Obviously, it will gain a bit more experience because Dean Ensign, is only very, very young. And Joe Pereira, of course, he's gone on a long season loan in Scotland with Hearts. So if David De Gea is to leave, we definitely need a replacement for him. But according to recent reports, looking likely, he's going to be signing a new contract with Manchester United, which is very, very good. So I think David De Gea will be the joint highest paid player with the club, alongside Paul Pogba. So that's very, very good news indeed. But he did actually say, at the start of pre-season, that actually, Man United had breakthrough in negotiations with David De Gea's agent, George Mendes. But yeah, it's looking likely now, he's going to be signing a new contract with the football club. So that's the latest news in regards to David De Gea. Obviously, as a recent, I'll give you an update on, earlier on this week, and that in regards to the new director of football at Manchester United. I did say, we need a director of footballing, because I did say, we need a structural change at the football club, and it was, I was actually infuriated, and I think the vast majority of Man United fans were disappointed that, we didn't recommend a director of footballing, earlier on in the summer, because maybe if we'd have got a director of footballing, at the start of the summer or the midway point of the summer, then maybe, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, would have been back to more in the summer transfer window. But there was quite a few names, linked with that director's role, earlier on in the summer. There was, I think Ed Woodward had negotiated, well, he'd had talks, with a few former Man United players. I think he negotiated with Evra, Rio Ferdinand and Darren Fletcher, about roles at the football club. Also, Paul Mitchell was linked with the director's role, earlier on in the summer. And but I think Ed Woodward has confirmed, he's looking to appoint a director of football into the football club. Now, recent reports said early on this week that Ed Woodward has identified Edwin van der Sar as his #1 target, to become the new director of football at Manchester United. And I believe, Ed Woodward is probably, going on the experience of, Edwin van der Sar, because Edwin van der Sar has got that experience. And I did say earlier on in the summer, it's beneficial to recommend someone who knows the traditions of the football club and someone who, of course, has got that experience. And I think Edwin van der Sar is definitely now the right solution, because I think Edwin van der Sar, if he came in, he would be reliable, overseeing our transfer business. And don't forget, Edwin van der Sar knows the traditions of the football club. Don't forget, he served 6 years at Manchester United as a goalkeeper. I think he's been chief executive at Ajax since 2016, so now this is his 4th season at Ajax, and I do believe Ed Woodward has been satisfied with the work he's done at Ajax. So reportedly, he's the leading candidate to become the new director of football at Manchester United. But in my overarching view on all this, for me, like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, wasn't backed enough, throughout the course of the summer transfer window. I'll credit him in the aspect, that he did recommend, 3 good players to the squad, and that, he spent over £140 million, obviously on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, and of course on Harry Maguire. And we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. But the big Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows, furthermore investment is needed in the squad, and I think he has confirmed, like I did update yesterday, he wants to make furthermore investment in January and perhaps maybe next summer. But the question is, who will Ole Gunnar Solskjaer look to sign in the January transfer window? I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, will want to continue the pursuit of young upcoming players, because obviously Solskjaer worked out his transfer strategy early on in the summer, and he did say, he wanted to recommend a number of young players to come in to the football club. So I'm satisfied in the aspect, that we did address some of the problematic areas throughout the course of the summer, but we didn't address all the problematic areas. But I did say it was going to be extremely difficult for us, to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window, because this has only been Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first summer as Manchester United manager. But in January, we need to, recommend at least a couple of more players in. I still think these deficiencies in the squad, like I said, I've got a lot of element of concerns about that midfield, because, we didn't strengthen that midfield up, throughout the course of the summer, which we really should have done. But that midfield is one of the priority areas, where Manchester United need to strengthen up. Don't forget, for the majority of the summer as well, was in search for a right winner. So I'm happy with the players we brought in. So I'm glad we got that experienced centre half, and I'm also glad that we got that right back in, but we didn't address all the problematic areas. And I think the board confirmed at the start of the season, they come to terms, and I think they realise that they didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough, and I think they've assured that Solskjaer will be back in January, maybe next summer. So I think regardless of what happens this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job should be safe for at least this season. So that's very, very good news. But we've enjoyed a very, very difficult start to the season. We've only registered 5 points from a possible 12. We've only won one game out of our first 4. So we've won 1, we've drawn 2, and of course we have lost 1. And I've analysed them 4 previous games, and now and it's not that we're particularly playing badly. The performances are below par, but they're not dreadful performances. Like Gary Neville, was recently speaking about Man United, and he basically said, we're playing, he thinks we're under the right track under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He says, we seem to be playing in the right way, but we're just not scoring enough goals, and we need to justify that problem. And we're just not being clinical enough in front of goal, and this is probably why we're not scoring enough goals. We may be creating chances. We created a lot of chances last season, but only managed 53 goals in the Premier League. Last season, and that. I still think we're lacking leadership in the team. I think we need someone who can come in and create a lot more chances. Maybe we need someone to come in who's better at taking a set piece and that. So you can still see key areas where Manchester United are lacking. But so far this season, I haven't really seen much improvements, and what I've seen so far this season is replicating what I saw last season. And if we do continue this bad run of form, I think we could enjoy a worse season this season than what we saw last season. But obviously we know we're not in a Champions League football this season, and I did say in that aspect, that probably went against us in the summer transfer window, because we had a lot of targets, we had a lot of players on our agenda throughout the course of the summer. But I did say certain players at a certain calibre and level, would have had strong reservations about joining the football club, even though Man United are a massive club. We are the most successful team in England historically. But when you're not in Champions League football, it does go against you in transfer windows. And like I said, prior to the summer transfer window, we haven't been competitive enough in the other windows and that, we didn't get anyone in January, reflecting back last summer under the Jose Mourinho era, we didn't get our number one tags, and I think Solskjaer spoken about our recruitment policy earlier on in the summer, and, analysed it, it's not too good, to be quite honest with you, but obviously, I think, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I don't think he'll get sacked this season, regardless of what happens, unless, winning a relegation fight or winning mid-table, I can't really see that happening. But I think prior to that, I think his job, should be safer for at least this season, because we do know that Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United squad. So I believe, he needs to get given at least a couple of windows, to make more investment. But I did initially say anyway, we knew at the start of the season our expectations this season, wouldn't be to win the league, because we know analysing our squad at the moment, it isn't good enough to win the league, or it's not good enough, to mount any kind of title challenge up. I think it's definitely good enough for a top 4 finish. And I did say this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's expectations, will be able to get in that top 4. And I did initially say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to exceed these expectations, to obviously, remain in the job at Manchester United. But I did initially say, the dimension, the history of this football club, we should be up there challenging and, of course, competing. But we haven't seen this, within the last 6 or 7 years. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he obviously, wants to bring that fear factor back to the football club and that winning mentality. I know a lot of people have got huge doubts that he's going to be able to do that, because that fear factor or that winning mentality, hasn't been there since the Alex Ferguson era. But I did say, regardless of who our manager is, I don't think anyone's going to follow. No one's going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. We're never going to replicate, what we did under Alex Ferguson, for 20 odd years, because we did have 20 odd years of success in that. I did say now I'm hopeful this team this day and age, can replicate and what the team did under Alex Ferguson and that. But I've just got huge doubts about it, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But like I did say, Solskjaer maybe does need time. Maybe he needs to be given at least a year. Don't forget, reflecting back under the Alex Ferguson era, it took him, 4 years to win any silverware with Man United. He didn't win out in his first 4 years, and look what he produced and delivered after that, Alex Ferguson. It was actually, unbelievable. But, like I said, back in that day, and back in, the 80s and that, the boards were nowhere near as ruthless as they are now. Like I said, at this day and age now, if you go, 5 or 6 games without a win, your current manager is under pressure and that. But I do love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot, and I did say, we're not really known for the sacking club. I know already 3 managers have been sacked, since the Alex Ferguson era. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era, and I did say anyway, we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers, but just. I'll give you a prime example. So if at this moment in time, say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is sacked by Christmas or the New Year, who are Man United, going to appoint in, to make things better. Obviously I know before actually Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended in, last season and that. Obviously, we was in for Mauricio Pochettino. Don't forget, we was actually, going in for Mauricio Pochettino for a long, long time. After Jose Mourinho got sacked, we was in for Pochettino for a while. Gary Neville did say, give his overarching view about it at that present time. And he actually did say that Pochettino, would have been the right candidate for Manchester United. Obviously, and I did say at the time, though, Pochettino's got no intentions of leaving Tottenham. Obviously, we probably would have had to pay a commission of around 35 or 40 million pounds to recommend Pochettino in at the time anywhere. And like I did initially say, Pochettino is good at developing young players, and he's done well in the Premier League. This is now his 6th season in management. with Tottenham. Well, this is his 6th season with Tottenham. Obviously, before he was at Tottenham, he had a short tenure with Southampton. Where he did really, really well. But he hasn't got that proven pedigree yet, Pochettino of winning any silverware and that. But, the time we was in for Pochettino, I had some concerns about, Pochettino coming in. But there again, he has got that experience, but not of winning any silverware. But disregarding the silverware, he's obviously more experience in the Premier League than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But I think, we decided to go with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because obviously, Solskjaer, obviously knows the traditions of the football club, Pochettino doesn't. And obviously, it was a cheaper solution as well as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We only paid a couple of £1 million, to get him in as interim manager in that 3-month period. Then I do believe we paid an extra, we paid a further, £7 or £8 million, to get, obviously, get him in permanently and that, which we did and that. And obviously, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, came in, he did well as interim manager in his first 3 months at the football club. The results were good, the performances were good. He exceeded expectations and that. And since he got the job permanently, back in March earlier on this year, it has just seemed to have all gone wrong. Basically, I think some people believe that maybe if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is given the time that is required, some people believe he can emulate into Jurgen Klopp. I think Gary Neville was recently saying something about this. He believes that maybe Solskjaer can emulate into Jurgen Klopp, because you're analysing Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp's been at Liverpool now quite a few years. He's been there about 3 or 4 years now, if I'm right. And don't forget, he didn't win out in his first few years with Liverpool. Obviously, I think he won his first major honour with Liverpool last season, because Liverpool won the Champions League. But Jurgen Klopp, hasn't really won much so as manager. He's won, Champions League with Liverpool. I think he won a couple of titles, when he was at Borussia Dortmund and that. But I'll credit Jurgen Klopp. He's doing really, really well now. Liverpool invested well in the last couple of windows. They didn't sign anyone this summer, but in the previous two previous windows before this summer, Liverpool did really, really well. Obviously, they got a good buy with Virgil van Dijk, who they paid £75 million for. Obviously, they got a good goalkeeper in for Alisson and that. So Liverpool have, obviously, got a pretty decent squad, but Jurgen Klopp is now doing a pretty decent job. So maybe Solskjaer, could emulate into Jurgen Klopp. Don't forget, before we actually, also there was Zinedine Zidane on our agenda, for quite some time as well. There was talks about him, possibly, coming to Manchester United and that. But like I said, I will back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer all the way. But I said if Solskjaer is to be sacked again, possibly we could reignite our interest in Pochettino and go back in for Pochettino again. Maybe, there's loads of managers out there, but for this present time, I would keep Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. I would keep Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. And like I did say, we have got a tough game this weekend against Leicester. It's going to be it's a tough encounter. This one. Leicester have enjoyed a pretty decent start to this season. Obviously, they've won 2, they've drawn 2 in their last 4 games, so they've obviously registered 6. They've obviously registered 8 points from a possible 12. They've won their last 3 games in all competitions of Leicester, and they've enjoyed a pretty decent start to this season. They are sitting 3rd in the league. Leicester, so they've had a pretty decent start to this season. I think they did good investment, throughout the course of the summer. Did Leicester? Obviously, I think an estimated guess, I think they did spend somewhere in the region of around £90 million on 4 players. Obviously, they played a club record fee, for Yori Tillemans, who they paid £40 million for. Obviously, well, initially he was on loan at Leicester, but then obviously Leicester made the permanent deal, made the deal permanent earlier on in the summer. They got him from Monaco. Obviously, they got James Justin from Luton, who I think they paid around £6 million for. Obviously, they got Perez from Newcastle. I think they paid around £30 million for, was it? Something like that. And obviously, they got Dennis Pryor in, whatever his name is, from Sampdoria, who I believe Leicester paid around £18 million. So they did spend around £90 million. Leicester have lost a few of their imperative players recently, should I say. Obviously, they lost Harry Maguire this summer. Obviously, they lost Raheem Mahrez to Manchester City last summer. But Leicester, have got some good players in their team. But I think this is a game, Man United, should win. We've usually got a good winning record against Leicester. We beat them at home last season 2-1. Beat them at the King Power last season, 1-0. So yeah, we usually do beat Leicester, but our home form hasn't been great recently. We've lost 3 of our last 5 Premier League games at Old Trafford. Obviously, we lost to Palace, at Old Trafford, earlier on in the season. But we've actually, won 8 of our last 9 games against Leicester at Old Trafford. Leicester have only won 1 of their last 20, league games against us, and that obviously, victory, came back in September 2014 when Leicester, did beat us by 5 goals to 3. But maybe in this particular game, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, could, rotate the squad quite a lot, obviously reflecting on the amount of injuries, we have got. So we do know that we have got quite a few injuries. So we do know Wan-Bissaka has got an injury problem. Obviously, he had to withdraw from the England squad the other week. Obviously, after he had sustained a back injury. It didn't, as you say, the other week that he did return back to Old Trafford to obviously, for treatment, and he said initially, he would be monitored in the next couple of days, to see if he's going to be fit enough to play against Leicester. I'm not too sure if he's going to be involved in the game against Leicester, but actually, should regain full fitness by the time we play Leicester at the weekend. Obviously, if Wan-Bissaka, he's not fit enough to play. I think probably Ashley Young will play at that right back position, because I think it's recently said that Diego Dalot is going to be unavailable for this weekend. I think it's unknown, when he will regain full fitness. I'm pretty sure that Diego Dalot has been out with a groin problem. Diego Dalot has obviously not yet made an appearance this season in the Premier League for Manchester United, but obviously Diego Dalot is one of the backup options at right back. But we have anyway, got quite a few fullbacks in the team. But if Wan-Bissaka isn't available, I think probably Young will play at right back. Don't forget, Young played in the last game against Southampton. Obviously, he operated at left back, where he did captain the team. But I said I'm hopeful that Wan-Bissaka, injury's not too severe, because I think he's enjoyed a very good start to his Manchester United career. And some people believe that, he's been our most consistent signing so far, Wan-Bissaka, because his distribution's good. He shows that ability to play out from the back. And I think so far this season with Man United, he's replicating what he did, last season with Crystal Palace. Because don't forget, Wan-Bissaka only made his senior debut back in February 2018, for Crystal Palace. And reflecting back when he was a lot younger, he was primarily a right winger. So in that aspect, he's actually comparable to Ashley Young, because actually Ashley Young was primarily a right winger when he was younger, but as he was developing like Wan-Bissaka, obviously, he got rotated as a right back basically. So in that aspect, like I've just said, where they are comparable. But I think we paid around, was it £50 million there for Wan-Bissaka, but he has done, really, really well so far. And of course, he's only 21 years of age. Like I did say, Luke Shaw, I don't think he's going to be playing in the game against Leicester at the weekend. I think he said he's an estimated guess. Well, I think I'm right, should I say? He's out until the 30th of September. He's Luke Shaw, so I think he's out for at least another couple of weeks. Obviously, Luke Shaw has got a hamstring injury. Obviously, he sustained this in the 2-1 defeat to Crystal Palace. So I don't think Luke Shaw will be available for this game. But I'm disappointed that Luke Shaw's out of injury, because Luke Shaw is a very imperative player for Manchester United. Obviously, we do know Luke Shaw, I think now he's into his 5th season. He's a Man United player. He has been here since the Louis van Gaal era. But like I said, he's our first choice left back, is Luke Shaw. And we do know when he's on form the difference he makes on that left hand side. I think reflecting on his impressive performances last season, Luke Shaw won the double player of the season. And I think analysing the majority of his Man United career has been mainly consistent. He's had some rough patches. I think he had a rough spell under Mourinho. Obviously he sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player. But yeah, so he will not be. I doubt he'll be involved in the game against Leicester and that. So maybe. Well, obviously, Diego Dalot obviously not going to be playing in the Leicester game this weekend. Obviously, maybe with Wan-Bissaka not playing in the game this weekend, possibly Marcus Rojo, could get given the opportunity this weekend in the game against Leicester. Because don't forget, he's predominantly a centre-back, but he can also play on the left-hand side, Marcus Rojo and that. So, reflecting on the injury, Solskjaer may have to rotate the squad quite a lot. In regards to Anthony Martial, we do know he's been out with a thigh injury. I hope his injury is not too severe, because I think he's been one of our best players so far this season. Obviously, before he picked up that thigh injury. I think Martial so far this season has scored 2 goals for Manchester United. I think he's provided them a couple of assists. But I did say, if he's not to, for now, if he's not to sustain any more injuries this season, he can keep fully fit, Martial. I think, and he keeps the consistency up. I think he can score from at least between 15 to 20 goals this season. Obviously, got confirmed at the start of the season that Anthony Martial has been, given her that number 9 shirt. So obviously, we do know that he's playing more centrally this season, is Anthony Martial, because he does seem to be, more effective in that central position, as that did get proven, throughout pre-season. But we do know this season that Martial and Rashford have obviously, both played in that number 9 role. But Martial, I think he's done really well with Man United. He's now into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. Obviously, he's scored 50 goals for the club now. I think since his arrival from Monaco back in 2015, I think he scored his 50th goal against Wolves earlier on in the season, did Anthony Martial. But Martial's developing really, really well. He's only 23 years of age. I still don't think, he's quite emulated to that level as yet. But I think, he will definitely get to that level. Martial's actually primarily plays out wide, but I think he looks looks more effective in that central position, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But, I think, you've got Rashford as well, that can play centrally, can play out wide. So in that aspect, both players are comparable, because Rashford can play out wide and play centrally, Martial can play out wide, and of course can play centrally. Don't forget Man United, give Martial a new contract, back in January he signed a 5-year deal, so he's under contract with the football club until 2024. But Martial, when he's on form, his finishing aspect's good, his penetration, that's good, and he's good at getting them runs in behind. So when he's at his best, Martial, he's a very, very reliable player. So he's obviously, out with thigh injury, so obviously he didn't play in the game against Southampton. In the 1-1 draw with Southampton, it was actually Marcus Rashford that fulfilled Anthony Martial's role, and obviously Rashford got a lot of criticism, for his performance against Southampton, and that, from a lot of Man United fans, and he was really, really poor. His finishing was poor. He looked so isolated in that central position, didn't latch onto any of them crosses. But despite the fact that Rashford, I think, has performed okay this season, not brilliant, but he has performed okay. Prior to his performance against Southampton, I think Rashford overall has done pretty okay. But Rashford's performances were inconsistent in the last couple of months of last season. But I still say he's definitely the long-term solution for Manchester United. Like I did say, some other injuries we've got. Obviously, we do know that Fossil Mensah is a long-term absence. He's obviously, out with injury. Eric Bailly, of course, is a long-term absence. He's out until the new year. Is Eric Bailly. Obviously, he sustained a knee injury, throughout pre-season. And obviously, we know Jesse Lingard quite recently had to withdraw from the England squad after he suffered an illness as Jesse Lingard. But maybe, could be okay for the game against Leicester at the weekend. But before Jesse Lingard and that got this illness, analysing his performances so far this season, he's been a huge disappointment as Jesse Lingard, and he was so far this season he's replicating what he did in the last couple of months of last season, because in the last couple of months of last season Jesse Lingard was really, really poor. Like I did say, with in regards to Paul Pogba, hopefully he's going to regain full fitness for the game against Leicester this weekend. I think, he should be involved, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, we do know Paul Pogba had to withdraw from the France squad the other week after, he had sustained an ankle injury in the 1-1 draw with Southampton. And I did say at that point, hopefully, Paul Pogba's injury is not too severe, because Paul Pogba, is a very, very imperative player. And Paul Pogba, will be infuriated, that he didn't, obviously, play for France, because we do know he loves to represent France, because he is, really, really good for France. Is Paul Pogba. I do believe, that Paul Pogba, we know that he's staying at the football club at least until January, so in that aspect, that's really, really good. And I said it was very imperative, that we kept him at the football club anyway, especially, with our failure to land a midfielder in, throughout the course of the summer. A midfielder in, throughout the course of the summer, and that's. I'm glad, we convinced him to remain at the football club. But like I updated you on my video that I did this morning, obviously it did say, we're sticking to our valuation. It says, we will demand around £179 million for Paul Pogba in January. So if Real Madrid or whoever else, are willing to meet that £179 million valuation in January, then we would be happy, to let Paul Pogba go. But obviously, earlier on in the summer anyway, basically said, we wanted somewhere in the region of around £180 million, to let Paul Pogba go. And I did say, reflecting on, the huge, reflecting on the substantial amount, we put on Paul Pogba, I did say, that was a stumbling block of Paul Pogba leaving Man United this summer. But we do know that he was relentless. Well, he is relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid. He was relentlessly, linked to a move to Real Madrid, and obviously Paul Pogba had a long-running transfer saga, throughout the course of the summer. And at one point, it was looking very imminent. He was going to be leaving the football club. Obviously, Paul Pogba did confirm, was it back in June, which was earlier on in the summer. He did say, he wanted to leave Manchester United. He publicly admitted this, and he did basically say, he was seeking for a new challenge. He wanted to leave Man United, basically, to rejuvenate his career and that. Quite recently, it's also come out saying that Paul Pogba, one of the main factor reasons why Paul Pogba stayed at Manchester United this summer is because Adidas intervened in his transfer to Real Madrid. So reportedly, it said Adidas had a big part to play in Pogba remaining at the football club. But I believe Adidas anywhere wanted Paul Pogba to stay at Manchester United because they believe it's better for them commercially. Quite recently as well, I think Paul Pogba's agent Mini Raiola has held negotiations there with the football club to discuss Paul Pogba's future with Manchester United and over the possibility of renewing his contract at the club, because Paul Pogba's still got 2 years left in his current deal with Manchester United with an option to extend it by a further a year and that. But quite recently, his brother again, has fueled more speculation again, like he did, earlier on in the summer, and he's reportedly said that Paul Pogba has spoken to Lionel Messi, who's obviously who plays for Barcelona, because we do know it wasn't only Real Madrid that were in for Paul Pogba early on in the summer. It was also Barcelona were in for him, more Real Madrid, but Barcelona had inquired about his services and that. But if Paul Pogba leaves in January or next summer, his first choice preference, obviously, will be Real Madrid, like he did confirm earlier on in the summer. Like he did confirm earlier on in the summer. But I'm glad, we have convinced him to remain at the football club. And obviously, earlier on in the summer as well, there was talks about Pogba, possibly, making a return back to Turin, because he did have 4 good years in Turin with Juventus. Hasn't mainly, replicated this at Manchester United and that. But we have seen glimpses, of how, good Paul Pogba can be. Obviously, I think he's had a pretty decent start to this season, prior to his poor performance against Southampton, obviously prior to his penalty miss against Wolves. Obviously, don't forget Paul Pogba was subjected to online racial abuse earlier on in the season following his penalty miss against Wolves. And I think I'll credit Paul Pogba in that aspect. I think he handled the situation, quite well. But prior to that, I think he's done quite well. Obviously, Paul Pogba's not yet scored this season. I think he provided a couple of assists in the 4-0 victory against Chelsea on the beginning of the season. But I don't think he's yet scored this season. But he has started all 4 games. Obviously, we do know Paul Pogba's been playing alongside McTominay mainly so far this season. And again, I'll credit McTominay. I think he's had a good start to this season. He did well throughout pre-season so far this season, replicating what he did throughout pre-season. Still don't know if it's a long-term solution for Man United. So in that aspect, I have got element of concerns, but so far so good. But McTominay obviously anyway got assured more opportunities this season. But like I said, in regards to Paul Pogba, I'm happy that he's staying there for now. But from a Real Madrid perspective, from Real Madrid perspective and that, and Zinedine Zidane, he'll be infuriated, that he didn't get Paul Pogba this summer, because obviously Zinedine Zidane identified Paul Pogba as his number 1 target, as his number 1 target. And that I think also Christian Eriksen was on Real Madrid's agenda, obviously, but Real Madrid's first choice preference was Paul Pogba over Christian Eriksen, despite the fact probably that Christian Eriksen would have been a cheaper solution than Paul Pogba and that. But I do believe if Paul Pogba is to remain loyal to the football club and he is to renew his contract with Manchester United, I think Real Madrid have got an alternative, and I think they'll go in for Christian Eriksen. They'll look to get Christian Eriksen on a free transfer next summer, because his contract does expire at the end of the season. Does Christian Eriksen's and that. But Real Madrid will definitely probably go back in for Paul Pogba in January, I should presume. But Solskjaer knows anyway how much of an imperative player that Paul Pogba is. But Paul Pogba's still got a lot of development in him. He's only 26 years of age, got a hell of a lot of years ahead of him. And like I said, we have seen him at his best as a Manchester United player. Paul Pogba, definitely seen him at his best. We saw glimpses of how good he was in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. He did well throughout pre-season, did Pogba. When he's playing well, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. He's like 2 players in one, and you mainly see the best of Paul Pogba when he's 3'd up. Obviously, he's our most expensive sign. We paid £89 million for Paul Pogba. So basically in January, we're demanding almost double than what we initially paid for him from Juventus back in 2016. Paul Pogba's now into his 4th season as a Manchester United player since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016, and that with the football club he's won the Europa League and the League Cup. Obviously that came in his 2nd season at the club. I said it hasn't only been this summer. He's been subject to a lot of transfer speculation. Obviously, reflecting back last summer, there was a lot of talks about Pogba leaving. Obviously, reflecting back under the Jose Mourinho, where he wasn't, he had a bad relationship here with Jose Mourinho. And obviously, Paul probably got one of his best wishes, of course, when Jose Mourinho left the football club. I think there was talks about him possibly making a return back to chairing last season. But Paul Pogba's stats were very impressive last season. He scored 16 goals, provided 11 assists in 47 games in all competitions. But Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, has, like I said, recently discussed with the club about possibly renewing Paul Pogba's contract and his future at the club. He also actually said at the start of pre-season, did Paul Pogba's agent, that he's in that Paul Pogba was in the process of leaving the football club and that. But obviously, the initial plan was throughout the course of summer. Well, this was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plan, was obviously to bring a couple of midfielders in, to replace Ander Herrera and Marion Fellaini, and obviously keep Paul Pogba at the football club and that. But yeah, so like I said, I'm hopeful that he can be fit for the game at the weekend against Leicester. But like I said, I do believe, the players, we was in for throughout the course of this summer. I probably believe, we will reignite our interest in them in January and that. We may go back in for Bruno Fernandes in January, because reflecting back early on this summer, Bruno Fernandes was our number one priority target, don't forget. We had our opportunity basically with Bruno Fernandes, but we was not willing to meet Sporting Lisbon's valuation, and I think this is the main factor reason why we missed out on Bruno Fernandes. Don't forget, we went in for Christian Eriksen towards the back end of the window. We was only tentatively linked with Christian Eriksen. He wasn't one of the club's main priority targets. Obviously, we inquired about Dybala and Mandzukic, towards the back end of the window. Obviously, we was seeing one of them as an actual adequate replacement for Romelu Lukaku. I was disappointed that we didn't get a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. Don't forget, Jadon Sancho. We was in for him also earlier on in the summer. Obviously, reflecting back in the January window, with Jadon Sancho, obviously, was our number one number one priority target in that. But I did say our move got screwed for Jadon Sancho with our failure to qualify for the Champions League and that. But yeah, we was relentlessly linked with him in January and earlier on in the summer. But Jadon Sancho confirmed he's remaining loyal to Borussia Dortmund this season. But I think he's set to leave Borussia Dortmund next summer. So we'll probably leave it till next summer to go in for Jadon Sancho. Possibly could go for going for him in January. Obviously, if we are to go in for him in January or next summer, either way, we're still going to have to pay a substantial amount, to obviously, get him away from Borussia Dortmund to come to Manchester United. And obviously, we've got to get that, we've got to be competing for the top four by January, because, if we've been inconsistent until January, obviously, we're not going to be able to attract players to the elite level. But I love Jadon Sancho to come in. Like I said, he is primarily a right winner, and I would be excited about the prospects of Jadon Sancho, playing alongside the likes of Rashford, Daniel James, and Martial in our attacking line, because I do believe they're blending fantastically well. And Jadon Sancho's got a hell of a lot of development in him. He is only 19 years of age, don't forget. This is his third season now at Borussia Dortmund. So far, he's had 2 good seasons with them. Obviously, he's under contract with Dortmund until 2022. But like I said, Jadon Sancho can create chances, he can score goals, he can provide assists and that, and he's done that in his couple of years. He has been here with Borussia Dortmund. But Dortmund do know deep down how much of an imperative player he is, because don't forget, in recent years, Borussia Dortmund have lost quite a few of their imperative players and that. But I'd love Sancho at Manchester United. I think he would be the right solution at the club, and I think he'd represent the club fantastically well. Don't forget, it's also beneficial because obviously he's already had experience of playing in the Premier League. Because don't forget, Jadon Sancho served a couple of years with Manchester City, but never really got assured, first team football at Man City, and this is one of the reasons why he actually departed City and went to Borussia Dortmund and that. But if he came back to the Premier League, I think it would help create a better platform for him. It would help him, with his development more and that. So I'd love him, to come to Manchester United either in January or next summer. So possibly, Jadon Sancho, could actually be our next sign. You never know, to be quite honest with you. There was other players we was in for throughout the course of summer. Don't forget, early in the summer, we inquired about Declan Rice. He was another player we went in for. He's actually primarily defensive midfielder, is Declan Rice, but he can actually play him as a centre-back, and he's only 20 years of age, is Declan Rice. He's been at West Ham now a number of years. He's been in their senior squad quite a few years as Declan Rice. And like I said, he's well Premier League proven. He initially learned his trade in the Premier League. Before he was at West Ham, he actually began his career with Chelsea. I think he was in their youth system for a lot of years. I think he got axed out of Chelsea's youth system back in, was it 2014, if I'm right? But he served about 7 years, I think, in Chelsea's youth setup, did Declan Rice. He's got a long-term contract with West Ham. He is on the contract with them until 2024. But he was a player we was involved early in the summer. Don't forget, we inquired about James Maddison from Leicester. He's only like tentative linked with him. We did inquire about his services. It did say at the time, we'd have to pay around £60 million, to get James Maddison. Don't forget, James Maddison last season created more chances than any other player in the Premier League. So that's a good statistic, isn't it? He's only 22 years of age as well. He's predominantly an attacking midfielder. He's James Maddison. So he was another player, went in throughout the course of the summer. So there was quite a few players on our agenda, but obviously, Solskjaer, didn't manage to get Marley's number one targets, which was obviously a disappointment. Which was obviously a disappointment that, but now I did say further more investment is needed in January and perhaps next summer, but I also believe that more players need to leave the football club, because despite the fact that quite a lot of players have left now since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe there's a couple more players that do need to depart the football club in January and next summer. But we do know now about 7 players have left now since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. Antonio Valencia obviously left earlier on in the summer after he actually served 10 years there with Man United. Obviously, we do know that Chris Smalling left, despite the fact that Chris Smalling's gone out on loan to Roma. Though we have still got 6 centre backs in the team. Obviously, Darmian left the other week. He's joined Parma, and Herrera left early on in the summer. Marion Fellaini left. There were 2 long-serving players at the club. Herrera served 5 years at Man United. Fellaini served 6 years at Man United. Obviously, we know that Lukaku left the football club. Sanchez left the football club. Dean Enter's got back out on loan. Joe Pereira gone out on loan. So yeah, quite a lot have left now, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. But I still believe there's more players that do need to go. I think these 3 players I think need to go. I think Jones is one of them. Obviously Jones, he's going to find game time very difficult anywhere following the arrival of Harry Maguire. He's going to find game time difficult. Jones has been at the football club 8 years. He's now into his 9th season as a Manchester United player. He's Phil Jones. He has made over 300 odd appearances, I think, for the club in all competitions. He's been here since the Alex Ferguson era and that. And we have seen glimpses of how good Jones can be over the years, but no longer good enough to represent the football club. Don't forget, he got given a new long-term contract last season, did Phil Jones. Like I did say, Rojo, obviously Rojo was subject to quite a lot of transfer speculation, throughout the course of the summer. With Marcus Rojo, though, his Manchester United career has been mainly affected, the amount of injuries he has sustained, Marcus Rojo. And like I said, I think Everton did inquire about getting Rojo on deadline day. Don't forget, we put around the £25 million valuation on him. Rojo's just got under 2 years left on his contract with Manchester United. Don't forget the likes of Marcelo Monaco and AC Milan, inquired about getting Rojo in. But even when the European transfer window was open, it closed on the 2nd of September, which was early on this month. But Solskjaer said prior to the Southampton game that Rojo was going to be definitely staying at the football club. But I think the club should orchestrate on getting rid of him in January or next summer. So he's another player I think needs to go. Like I said, with Ashley Young, I do presume this is going to be his last season as a Manchester United player. I think he could actually, he could go to another team after Man United for a short period, or I think he could make his retirement from football at the end of this season. I know some players, play football to like 37, 38, maybe 39, maybe even 40, like Ryan Giggs did. But I think, Young, could retire, from football at the end of this season. It's obviously reflecting on his age. He's 34. I think Young's 35 next year, if I'm right. And Young's been a long servant here. He's been here 8 years, but he's now into his 9th season as a Manchester United player. Young was our first choice right back last season. Obviously, you can say it cost us quite a few points last season as well, based on his poor performances. But I'm glad, we recommended Anwan Bissaka in anywhere. But yeah, so this should be Young's last season as a Manchester United player, in my opinion. Like I said, Nemanja Matic, he's another inconsistent player. Like I said, he makes that midfield, look totally imbalanced. He is too slow. Is Nemanja Matic, and he's aging up now. He isn't getting any younger in that. But he's another player I think we need to consider, getting rid of maybe in January or next summer. So I still believe, as we speak, these problematic players and that at the football club. But like I did say, we have got a lot of young players at Manchester United. That, like I keep mentioning to that are obviously developing and trying to improve. And I'll credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the aspect that he has got a lot of trust with in his young players, despite the fact that Lukaku and Sanchez left the football club. Solskjaer believes we're not short of options in that attacking line. But I do believe recently Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has become infuriated with Marcus Rashford's recent performances. So I think based on that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is considering, giving Mason Greenwood more of a prominent role at the football club. I do believe this weekend Mason Greenwood needs to get the start against, Leicester from the start. He needs to start from the start. So far this season, Mason Greenwood has made 4 substitute appearances, but he needs to start again from the start. But Solskjaer said at the start of the season that, he assured, Mason Greenwood more opportunities this season, because Mason Greenwood, actually, played throughout pre-season. But Rashford, could actually, be dropped this week, and reflecting on his, bad performance, he put out against Southampton. But Mason Greenwood is only 17 years of age. Like I said, did well for the reserves last season, scored 30 goals in 29 games. He did. He scored 30 goals in 29 games for the under-18s, the under-19s, and of course the under-21s, and that's very, very impressive. Like I said with Chon, could he possibly participate in the game at the weekend against Leicester? Because Solskjaer, has assured Chong, more first-team opportunities. Chon's yet to make an appearance for the club this season. Don't forget, Chon's remaining loyal to the football club. He's staying at Manchester United this season, because don't forget, Chong rejected loan offers from PSV and Feyenoord. Feyenoord's actually his former club. Recent reports did say that Chong has been in negotiations with the football club over a new contract and that, but Chong is only 19 years of age, and he's obviously a right winner. And obviously, Chonler was quite impressive, throughout pre-season. Angel Gomez, could he possibly, start against Leicester, or at least, be involved in the game? I'm surprised, like I said, Angel Gomez, wasn't involved in the game against Southampton. So I am very, very surprised about that. He's obviously, another one of our midfield options. Alex Tuanzebe, obviously, he's another one of our centre-backs. Despite the fact that, obviously, Lindelof and Harry Maguire are our first-choice centre-backs, I do believe, Alex Tuanzebe, though, should still get given the chance this season, because he did say Alex Tuanzebe was going to be a big part of the squad this season. He has got that experience now, because obviously he had a loan spell with Aston Villa last season, so he should get given his opportunities as well. But like I said, there's another element of concern I've got about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He hasn't really got the experience of a manager, not really to the highest level, so that's also another element of concern. You did win a couple of Norwegian titles there with Molde, and that, Solskjaer also had a short tenure with Cardiff. It didn't really work out for him at Cardiff, to be quite honest with you. But you can still, quite frankly, say Solskjaer is in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United squad still. There's only 3 players that are his. Solskjaer's still inheriting 9 of Jose Mourinho's players, obviously. Well, it initially was 11, but 2 of them are left now. Obviously, there's still players here from the Van Gaal area he's inheriting. There's still Matty from the David Moyes area he's inheriting. And there's still players here, of course, don't forget, from the Alex Ferguson era. So, yeah, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's still inheriting a lot of them, players and all that. Like I said, a hell of a lot of money's been invested into the football club, in the last 6 or 7 years or so. I think, if my calculation's right, I can't give you what it actually, fully is. I can't, be spot on, but I think it's somewhere in the region of nearly £900 million we've spent on players in the last 6 years. Obviously it could work up to £1 billion, with, with obviously, with the big contracts, with we've give obviously players big contracts, and that obviously these now players at Manchester United obviously on big contracts and that. But I think if you want to take into account what we spent under Ferguson, we spent way over £1 billion and that. But it just proves always spending big on players and getting them glad to go players doesn't always guarantee you success, and that's obviously being proven. But we've been so inconsistent so far this season that, and we can't have a worse season than what we saw last season, because last season was one of the worst seasons I saw since the David Moyes era. Because back under the David Moyes era, where we finished seventh and that. Obviously last season we finished sixth. But we've got to have a better season this season. It's still early days. I know we've had a bad start to this season, but it's early days yet. There's still time to go. But we need to improve this season. We need to be more clinical in front of goal to obviously score more goals. Our away form needs to improve this season. Our record against the top six sides also needs to improve this season. So there's a lot of things to improve at Manchester United without a shadow of a doubt. And we haven't won the Premier League since 2013, and that's obviously now over 6 years gone now. Since we last won the Premier League. But yeah, so the main part of this video, was to give you the news in regards to David De Gea. Adam Crafton, who's an athletic journalist, he's reported out saying that David De Gea is on the verge of signing a new deal with Manchester United, which is very, very good news. So I'm glad he's going to be remaining at the football club. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. And more videos will be coming up tomorrow as usual. Thanks for watching.